Welcome to Tried by Fire, where we film the other guy next to us. We're going out to the desert again. Ooh, almost just witnessed a giant car accident. What the heck? I'm filming the wrong way, obviously. I should be filming what's going on in front of me because people are driving like freaking maniacs here. Before I officially start, I just want to say, the camera might be shaky because it's really windy. You might hear some wind because, it's really windy. Don't let that deter you from actually listening and watching. We're going to be reading in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse number 8. It says, "He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him." And if we skip down to verse number 12 to 15, it says, "The words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself." Yeah. The beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is mischievous madness. A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be, and what shall be after him. Who can tell him? The labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city. This episode is called Foolish Talk. I've seen it often when people are hurt by the smallest and dumbest things to ever argue over. I've seen relationships in ruin over a couple who cannot decide a restaurant to eat at. People are usually in a hurry for everything, which ultimately causes division. We need to be very careful and cautious as Christians, especially as leaders in the church and at home, that we don't fight unnecessary battles that can cause divisions. Romans 16, verse 17, it says, "Now, I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them." Some battles are just simply not worth ruining whole ministries over. And sometimes you can cause more pain when you should be trying to help build up. Solomon knows pain. He knows it so well, he dedicated a whole book about it. Not only is this pain specific to him, God obviously thought it necessary to have it recorded and put it in one of the best-selling and holiest books to have ever been written. We can learn from the nonsense of pain before we go through it. And that's why God has this here for us today. Verse 8 says, "He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh a hedge, a serpent shall bite him." No matter how long you've been in the church house, you're going to see some pretty crazy things. Some I would be hesitant to even believe was reality. One time I was in my office with my family, and I heard someone talking downstairs. We were the only ones in the church during that time, but I heard someone talking downstairs, and it sounded like there was a group of people, and it got louder and louder, and I just thought, okay, maybe my brother and his family came, and they're just, being loud. And then I can make out what the voice was saying, and it was saying, God, please, send somebody, help me. I listened a little bit more, and then I can hear him coming up the stairs towards my office, and it's getting louder. God, please, where are your workers? Louder. God, please, the profanity, louder, getting closer. So I get up and I lock the door as quietly as I possibly can. I decide this is the time I need to call my brother, and he sends me straight to voicemail. I call him again, he sends me straight to voicemail. I call him again, he sends me straight to voicemail over and over again, and I'm thinking, what could be so important that he's ignoring one of the most important things that's happening in my life? He finally calls me back, and I answer, and he says, "Hello?" I said, "Hey, there's somebody in our building, and I don't know who it is, but he's cussing, and he's screaming, asking for help." And he said, "Really?" And I thought, no, not really. I was just lying. I just wanted to call you so many times and just make up a story to make you feel bad for not answering my phone call. And so he's all, "Okay, I'll be right over." And I can hear him talking to the man. So I thought this is a good time for me to go downstairs, because now I have somebody else on the other side. He's not going to sneak up behind me if he has a gun or something. So I go downstairs and I see him, and they're talking, and not a very fruitful conversation. My brother says, "So what's the problem?" And he says, "I poop myself." Weird. My brother told him, "We have sinks, you can clean yourself off if you need to. We have some bathrooms that you can freshen yourself up." So he started cussing at my brother, and then my brother said, "You know what? You can leave. You don't need to be talking like that in here." He finally left, and we called the police because what do you do in that situation? That guy came back later on when he was more sober, and he says that he doesn't remember that. But from that point forward, you can't really trust him. There's no way to trust somebody like that when they've done something like that. I mean, how do you do How do you go through ministry and life with somebody that was once just out of his mind and then think everything's just okay the next time you see him and be like, oh, that's just Farmer Keith for you. That's just a normal way he acts. That's a normal thing to do. We must look at people from God's perspective, which is always based on their fruit. In Matthew 7:16, it says, "Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? If there is no fruit, then we must judge them righteously." In John chapter 7, verse 24, it says, "Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment." We're commanded to judge. We, of course, should always love people, no matter what. But first priority is their souls matter. Salvation is the most needful thing. Their soul's value is more significant than their physical value. We shouldn't look at people as numbers added to the church or how much work they can accomplish for the ministry. We must look at people as souls headed for eternity. I find it often that leaders look at people in ways they shouldn't.
In the first part of verse 8, it says, "He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it." Remember, this book is a sermon, saith the preacher. This was written to the church. The men of God should not be found digging pits. We can't afford to use our ministries to tear down people, especially not in our own churches. Proverbs 26:27 says, "Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return unto him."
Bye.
Ooh, motorcycles.
Oh crap! Camera fell over. We moved to a different spot. It's still super windy. It might fall over again. We're having a really hard time here, but we're gonna try and continue.
Psalms chapter 7 verse 15 says, "He made a pit and he digged it, and has fallen into the ditch which he made." The Lord's business is not digging pits. Jesus never told us to leave traps for those that we are leading. Jesus never said, "Go ye into all the world and dig pits." He said, no, we are to bring them unto salvation. He said in Mark chapter 16 verse 15, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." He called this the Great Commission. It's great in power, it's great in love, it's great in compassion, it's great in the Word of God. It's sad to see that we have made the Great Commission the optional occasion. Don't expect to be greatly used by God if you aren't involved in His commission. It was Jesus' last task for His servants.
I like your Donald Trump.
I'm doing that a lot?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everything you say. It's gonna be huge.
John chapter 12 verse 26 says, "If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor." We should not even have time to dig pits. Our time should be used in loving and teaching and preaching.
D.L. Moody said, "My experience has been, as I've gone about in the world, that those who find most fault with others are those who themselves have nothing to do." Mm-hmm. If a person is busy improving the talents that God has given him, he will have too much to do to find fault and complain about others.
You are to come alongside others. You don't get to dictate what others do, but help them do what needs to be done. The best way to show godly love is not to tell others what to do while you sit in your office and type up the next sermon. No, you are to go with them and show them. Jesus didn't just command everyone to go into the world and preach the gospel. Matthew 28:20 says, "Teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world." He says He is with us. He leads us by coming alongside and helping us. How much more is a church leader or a pastor to be an example of this Christ-like leadership? Leaders that treat those that they are leading like servants are not really leaders. Pastors are not bosses. They are co-laborers. Jesus co-labored and didn't make Himself to be better than those that He served with.
Then we're told to unite. We don't need the world in the church. We need less world and more grace, less sin and more holiness, less self and more Him.
Yeah.
Christians should be taking the short time they have together to unite and show Christ to one another, especially to those of the same faith. Galatians 6 verse 10, it says, "As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith." Imagine how amazing it would be if We actually use the church house the right way. Not to start divisions, but to start unity. Not to dig pits, but to display the cross. Not to break hedges, but to build up the walls of defense. Where is the church? Where are the example Christians? Where are the ones who show me Christ rather than just tell me Christ? I want to see him. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9, it says, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." Dang it, I just spent all my pages. Verse 15, it says, "The labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go to the city."
Without joy in your ministry, it causes the rest of the church to be joyless.
The spirit that you give off in the ministry will lead others to give off that same spirit.
What kind of spirit do those around you have? Is it one of love, patience, and joy? Or is it one of suffering, depression, and anguish? I mean, really evaluate your life and ministries. What do they look like? Is it possible that you are the one leading them to this?
Not many will be faithful to the calling of God if they view ministry and life as joyless. The spirit you give to others may cause many to stay away from church and ministry altogether. Come with the spirit of compassion, and those that are listening will leave with the same spirit. Come with the spirit of necessity, and those that are listening will leave with that same spirit. Come with the spirit of hurt, and those that are listening will leave with the same spirit. Come with the spirit of depression, and those that are listening will leave with the same spirit. Come with the spirit of God, and those that are listening will leave with the same spirit. Galatians 5:16 says, "This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh."
Don't waste your ministry just tearing people down. Be ready always to share the gospel and love others with the words of God. Colossians 4 verses 5 through 6 says, "Walk in wisdom towards them that are without, redeeming the time. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer every man." I was going to finish the video over by this rock called Happy Rock, but I thought, you know what? I've dealt with way too much. This video took us over a month. I just want to also mention, we're going to be having a giveaway soon. We have these new box sets that we're going to be releasing with this book. Actually, the conclusion is going to have a box set. You can get a bag and a cup that says Fear God, and a shirt that says Fear God, and then the book that says the conclusion. You can read the conclusion, Ecclesiastes, and all of these stuff that we're going through here. You can get more in depth, and eventually we're going to be giving away one of these awesome Bibles. Let me show it to you. The mic's over here, so. Oh yeah, I guess you can move too. So these Bibles are real flexible. This is goat skin leather. It's like $130 for this Bible, and it says TBF down here on the corner. So if that's something you're interested in, let's back up a little bit. You can stay tuned on our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram. Well, still don't know how to end this.